Again, they're in your package. For your convenience, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, there's a title of the resolution. The first resolution that we look at is the seeker resolution. And the reason why we're looking at the seeker resolution first is that, as you know, as a governmental body, before we can take any action with respect to a project, any final action with respect to a project, we need to consider potential environmental impacts of the project. So accordingly, and that's what's done in this resolution, so accordingly we need to start with the seeker resolution. So what I will do is I'll review the resolution for the members, and if there's any questions, please interrupt me, and obviously there'll be an opportunity for questions after I finish the review of the resolution. Starting at the bottom of page 1 and at the top of page 2 are a series of whereas paragraphs which describe the formation of the IBA. The second whereas paragraph on page 2 describes the project in very general terms. And then we move on to prior action with respect to the project. Back in August of this year, we adopted a public hearing resolution with respect to the project authorizing council and staff to hold a public hearing. There were 2 public hearings held as described by Mr. Flood, and those are described in the last whereas paragraph on the bottom of page 2, and the first full whereas paragraph on page 3, where the steps that we took with respect to that public hearing, sending out the notices, posting the notices, and publicizing the notices, publishing the notices. The next whereas paragraph describes, it's the second full whereas paragraph on page 3, describes prior seeker action taken by the Town of Ghent Planning Board, and that's very important because what this resolution does with respect to the new money, the new construction portion of the project, is to bootstrap on top of the prior seeker action taken by the Town of Ghent. We then review other documents related to or relating to the seeker determination, including an EAF for the existing project. And now we're at the meat of the resolution on the top of page 4, where in section 1 on page 4 we acknowledge receipt of the planning board negative declaration. Namely, the planning board has considered potential environmental impacts of the project and issued a negative declaration. And what we are doing as another involved agency is confirming and going along, if you will, with that negative declaration. And then section 2 describes our environmental review with respect to the existing building project. And the existing building project consists of renovations at that site. There's no significant addition, there's no new bump out of the building, if you will, and accordingly that fits within what is called a type 2 scenario under the seeker regulations, and that's what's described in section 2. And based on those findings under section 2, we can then make a determination that the environmental impacts, that there are no environmental impacts due to that project, and that we can move forward with respect to the project. Section 3 indicates that the resolution takes effect immediately upon a vote of the members.
I have a question, Joe.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to extend the existing building pilot, does this have to be modified?
I was actually thinking of that as we were talking about. Is there
I don't think so, though, because it's the existing facility is going to have the employees of the existing facility are going to tie into the whole project. So although the resolution regarding the granting of the pilot may have to be amended to delete the existing facility, I think that the secret thing has to be, isn't the existing facility still a portion of the project by reason of the employees?
Well, I didn't know also whether there was any minor renovations being done at that site for sales tax purposes that we would still need to
Yeah, so I think
still
that,
need to include.
so I think that that should be included in the secret resolution.
Right, yes. That was my view.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll open it up to any comments or questions from the board members.
Any questions of Joe? No? Good.
So procedurally, Chairman, we need a motion and a second and then a vote.
Need a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
So if I may, Chairman, I'll move on to the second
Sure,
resolution for consideration by the board. And again, for your convenience, not only has the material been sent to you in advance by the IDA staff, but if you look at the top, the right-hand corner, it'll say pilot deviation approval resolution. So that's the next resolution that we'll consider. The whereas paragraphs in this resolution follow very similarly the whereas paragraphs in the seeker resolution, except beginning on page 3. So if you move to page 3, and you'll see in the next to last whereas paragraph on the bottom of page 3 where we describe action taken by staff and council with respect to mailing the deviation letter out to the affected taxing jurisdictions. And there's a copy of that deviation letter attached. And we mailed that out to comply with New York State law and the IDA's uniform tax exemption policy. The balance of the whereas paragraphs talk about a receipt of any comments and that we've had them in our file. And we're now at the point of the reading of the resolution under section 1 on page 4. First, we have received the comments. We've considered the comments from the various affected taxing jurisdictions with respect to the pilot deviation letter. We have them in our file. They've been reviewed by the members. There has been response with respect to those comments at the beginning of this meeting with respect to Mr. Flood's discussion of those comments in general and the description of the project. And then section 1C, under the IDA statute, if there are any representatives from an affected taxing jurisdiction at this meeting, we are obligated under the law to recognize them and allow them, provide them with an opportunity to make comment. So are there any elected members of the county, the town, or a representative from the school district at this meeting, and do they want to make a comment? So,
that's good.
Thank you. So hearing none, we then move on to the balance of the resolution in section 2. That indicates that we've considered the comments. We've considered the comments at this meeting, and we're determining to move forward to deviate from our uniform tax exemption policy, but to deviate in accordance with the modifications made with respect to the pilot structure as described and discussed during this meeting. So all of the references, while we started with the deviation letter as our starting point, if you will, the approval or the terms being approved today are the terms that are contained in the pilot synopsis that's been distributed to the members and modified during the discussion portion of this meeting. Section 3 and 4 indicate that we'll move forward to prepare the actual document and authorize the chairman to execute the document. And section 5 indicates that this resolution, once considered and receiving the requisite number of votes, is effective immediately. With that, I'll open up for any comments or questions.
We do have a representative now from the school district.
Can you explain this?
Sure. I'm counsel to the special counsel to the IDA. We're actually in the middle of going through a process of considering the Ginsburg project. As part of that process, there is a portion of the meeting in which any of the affected taxing jurisdictions, which would be the two towns, the county, and the school district, have an opportunity, if they want, to make comment to the members. So you entered stage right at the appropriate time. If you'd like to make a comment to the board, this is your opportunity to do so.
I think that I'm Neil Howard, Superintendent of Cottonkill Central School District. Apologize for being a little late. I went to your offices over Route 9. The position of the district is as stated in the public session. You have the minutes of that, the members that were not present at that one, and also the corresponding letters I've sent are there for your purview. That's it.
Thank you very much. And we have that, we've entered your letter in the public record. Thank you.
The number, there's a couple of letters.
Yes, we have all. You've got all. Okay.
Thank you.
So back to you, Chairman. To move forward on the resolution, you need a motion and a second, and then ask for a vote.
Very good.
And obviously, if there's any questions of the members, we, both Ted and myself are available, and Ken are available to answer any questions.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the pilot deviation resolution.
So moved the resolution.
Motion made. Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed?
So there should be legally the roll call on this.
Pardon?
Should be legally by roll call, as stated in the resolution. I know it's a technicality, but
Well, we can.
no, that's, since it does say in the resolution that it's a roll call vote. So,
And just to be clear, as modified, as Joe said in the prior discussion, on deviation, as compared to synopsis.
No, I'll go first. I'll go aye. Sid?
Aye.
Donnie?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob too? Aye. Jim?
Aye.
So approved. Next resolution?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The last resolution for consideration by the board is the approving resolution where you approve the balance of the documents to be entered into in connection with the straight lease transaction. And again, this resolution was distributed in advance to the members. In the upper right-hand corner, it says approving resolution. And so I'll begin by reviewing that resolution. As I indicated with respect to the deviation resolution, the whereas paragraph beginning on the bottom of page 1 and running through the top of page 4 are essentially the same as the whereas paragraphs in the seeker resolution. At the top of page 4, the first whereas paragraph indicates on the top of page 4 that we adopted the pilot deviation approval resolution. That was the resolution that we just immediately approved. Then, most significantly for the members, the next whereas paragraph talks about the project synopsis, and that's the document that Mr. Gutterman reviewed with you, and where comments were made and modifications were made with respect to the abatement program and the clawback structure. And those, that project synopsis, if you will, as modified, is what's referred to in that whereas paragraph. We then moved on to the third whereas paragraph, which talks about certain findings that we need to make in connection with the consideration of any of our IDA projects. I'll skip over the fourth whereas paragraph. The last whereas paragraph describes the various documents that will be entered into in connection with this straight lease transaction, which includes the lease, lease in, a lease back, a pilot agreement, a New York State recapture agreement, and a project benefit agreement with the IDA that will provide for the clawback provisions that we talked about during our discussion of the project synopsis. And then there will be several sales tax items in order to enable the company to avail itself of sales tax exemption with respect to the project. So that's a very general description of the documents. At the top of page 5, we get to the meat of the resolution where we make certain findings and determinations. Section 1, we confirm certain action taken with respect to the process of consideration of the project. Section 2 confirms our relationship with the IDA as your special counsel. Section 3 makes certain findings and determinations, and I'll highlight a couple of them. One of which is, if you look at Section 3E, that there's no abandonment taking place with respect to this project. Letter F, that this is not a retail project. Mr. Flood had indicated earlier that there's prohibitions on retail and restrictions on retail projects. This is not a retail project. Probably most significantly for the board members, if you look at Section 3G, This is a reference to the project synopsis. The project synopsis contains the material terms of this transaction, and you're confirming those material terms as modified during the discussion of this meeting. If you flip the page to page 6I, section 3I, where we review the initial hearing report and the second public hearing report. And then I now move on to the balance of the resolution. Section 4 indicates that you're going to move forward to undertake the project, which includes taking an interest in the property, leasing it back, assisting the company in the acquisition and construction of the project, entering into the pilot agreement, entering into the New York State recapture agreement, entering into your clawback agreement, which is the project benefits agreement. And then if there are any bank loans, assisting the company in securing those bank loans by entering into a mortgage, and then grant the balance of the financial assistance to the company in accordance with the terms and conditions described in the project synopsis. Sections 5 and 6 authorize you to move forward with respect to the project. Section 7 provides for the approval of the documents. Section 8 and 9 authorize the appropriate officer of the IDA to execute the documents. And Section 10 indicates that the resolution takes effect immediately upon a vote of the requisite number of the members of the IDA. And with that, I'll open up the comments and questions.
Just to ask you, Joe, should we also include in the definition of company the other operating entity, which is Hudson Valley Logistics?
Is that the second whereas on page 2?
Yeah.
I can do that, yes.
Is the synopsis made a part of this
Yes.
resolution in its final form?
Yeah.
Here, on page 5,
The answer to your question is yes.
Yes, okay. Any further discussion, any questions of Joe? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Not, we'll do a roll call vote. I vote aye.
Aye.
Good. Simon?
Aye.
Bob Felicia? Jim?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? So moved. Thank you, Joe. Next one,
Any other matters on Ginsburg?
Could we just, before we end, could we just go down through the synopsis and make sure everyone understands what we've done, how we've modified this, so there's no question? Put that on. We'll do that separately. Let's just review what we've done on the synopsis before we leave. This is-
Number 1, we're just going to confirm that it starts, the pilot starts when the CO is issued. On number 3, that's deleted. That's the proposed pilot for the existing building. And number 8, we're changing the partial loss to 50% on 8A. And we're also going to have language in the agreement to provide some leeway for a catastrophic event. Well, that doesn't have to go in the synopsis, but that'll be in the IDA document. I think I'll put it in the synopsis as well. And I think that's it. As amended, the synopsis will be attached to the resolution. It'll be redated November 5th.
And 8B, we're leaving us 3 years. We're comfortable with that.
Right.
Anything further?
No, I just said to your question way back on the 3-year, that's pretty much going to be, the timing will pretty much probably, more than likely, be in line with what's in the CDC contract, because that's also a requirement within that contract. So there's no conflict.
Okay.
Any other questions on Ginsburg? Because I've asked the chairman to adjourn the IDA meeting so we can go into the finance committee. What? You want? Yeah, we're gonna come back to it.
What's the problem?
Yeah, no, there's no,
We're going to adjourn.
we're
We're not adjourning, we're suspending.
suspending, sorry.
We need a motion to that effect.
Sure.
Entertain a motion to suspend the meeting. Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We'll do the finance committee, and the chairman of that committee is Bob Beluccio. The other members are Jim Macker and Sid Richter. Bob?
First item on the agenda is minutes, approve the minutes of the August 19th meeting. They are enclosed, and is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? So minutes approved. There is a proposed change. You'll notice attached on page 3 of our agenda. And the wording has changed in paragraph F2. I guess we need to approve that.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Proposed change to notice the deviation.
Oh, you're on the, no, finance committee agenda, I'm sorry. That'll be governance committee.
Okay.
All these finance committees. Oh, state of New York.
Okay. Pretty much just.
Thank you. I'm sorry, so the next, Beluccio will be treasurer's report?
I just gotta find the agenda for that.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Finance committee.
Yep.
There it is, okay. Okay, so let's go back. The first item would be to approve the minutes of the August 19th meeting. And make a motion to approve. So, all in favor, aye. So minutes approved. The treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report is we have approximately $22,000 of available cash to fund the operations of the IDA. And the other money, the escrow for $29.90 and an escrow for BAC sales, and those are escrows for the pilots.
Okay.
On the reverse side of the balance sheet is your is the IDA's profit and loss. Obviously, the substantial change has been the amount in legal fees. Any questions?
We need to approve the treasurer's report? No?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion to approve the treasurer's report. All in favor? Aye.
Proposed budget, October 31st, we are required to submit and file our budget with the New York State Controller's Office through the Paris reporting system. We are going to be a couple of days late because our this meeting obviously falls out to the 31st. We are proposing revenue as a result of the Ginsburg project and anticipating that. Application fees, and then land sale. Expenses will be roughly, not roughly, we anticipate approximately same expenses. And any questions on that?
Yeah, I have one question. If the Ginsburg project doesn't go forward for any reason, and we don't collect those fees, how do we pay our legal fees?
Joe's funny. We have a fund balance. Yeah, sure. No, we do not. We will have to make some arrangements with some other organization, whether it's CRC or CDBC. And if we have no project or the Ginsburg project does not go through, more than likely my proposal would be just to reduce administration fees. And technically, Mr. Galusho, your committee will be recommending this budget to the full board for approval.
Right now, or?
Or you should vote to recommend it.
Okay.
No, there are not.
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the proposed budget. All in favor? Or second? Yeah?
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
No other business, Committee Chairman.
I make a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting. All in favor? Aye.
Governance Committee, which Bob Galusho, Donnie Klein, Bob Stickles, I believe Donnie is chairman.
Okay. I will move to call the Governance Committee the IDA to order. And the first item on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the August 19, 2014 meeting. They are enclosed. I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Second item on the agenda is a proposed change in the notice of deviation, and that is the original is enclosed. And
I would ask Ted to, as counsel, to explain this change that's being proposed.
You have a resolution on that, right?
I do.
So basically, the state law, our deviation